Have you ever opened your phone and found your life listed for sale? I'm not talking about your house, not your car. I mean the one thing you swore to protect, the thing that keeps you sane, your peace, your promise. One morning, I sat beside the lake my wife and I dreamed about for years. Her dream, really, flipping through old photos, trying to feel close to her. It had been quiet here, healing even, until that morning. 62 missed calls, dozens of texts, and one online ad selling my private lake for $50,000 0 cents by someone named Patricia Gray. No, I didn't list it. Yes, it was real. And no, it wasn't even hers to sell. But what Patricia didn't know, she picked the wrong widower to scam. Because I spent 15 years in real estate, I know every dirty trick in the book. And I was about to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. She came after my land. She called the cops. She faked injuries. She tried to poison my dog. But she didn't realize this lake isn't just water. It's a memory, a promise, and I protect what's mine. You ever lose someone so deeply that the silence they leave behind is louder than any noise in the world? My wife Emily used to dream out loud about sunsets, about a little ranch, and always about a lake. Marcus, she said once, flipping through a crumpled travel magazine, one day we'll retire to a ranch by a lake. You'll fish, I'll grow tomatoes, Duke will bark at ducks. That's the dream. We laughed. We planned. And then a drunk driver ran a red light and that dream died on a Tuesday afternoon. For a while, I tried staying in our house, but every coffee mug, every creak in the floorboards whispered her name. So I sold it all, packed my life into boxes, and I bought this ranch. 5 acres, 2-acre lake, and peace so quiet it almost hurt. It was the exact lake from that old magazine clipping Emily had taped to our fridge. She never made it here, but I did. And Duke, our golden retriever, the last gift she gave me, he made it too. So, yeah, this place, it's not just land. It's not real estate. It's a promise I intend to keep. Every morning I walk the lake with Duke. We sit on the old dock with coffee and kibble. We listen to the wind whispering through the willows. Sometimes it feels like she's here. Not in a ghostly, dramatic way, but in the quiet moments. When the lake ripples, when Duke perks up like he hears something I don't. When I remember the exact way she laughed when she said, "Just promise me we'll never leave." And I did. I promised, and I kept that promise. Until she showed up, Patricia, with her fake pearls and power suits, oiling like a politician, talking like she owned the place. At first, I thought she was just another big city transplant playing Homestead. But I was wrong. She wasn't here to farm. She was here to conquer. And what she wanted more than anything? With my lake. The same lake where I grieved. The same lake where I found peace. And the same lake that wasn't for sale. Until Patricia decided to list it anyway. But we'll get to that. If you've ever had someone try to take your peace, your safe place, hit that like button, drop a comment with what your sanctuary is, and don't forget to subscribe, because what happened next was straight up criminal. You ever wonder how paradise turns into a prison? That's when she moved in. Patricia Gray. She had a real estate smile, city heels sinking into country dirt, and a clipboard that looked like it held the secrets to national security. And from the second she arrived, something shifted. He didn't ask how people were. She asked who owned what. She wasn't curious about the community. She was assessing it. "I'm Patricia," she said on day one, already claiming titles that didn't exist. The president of the Meadowbrook Women's Association. We didn't have one. She made it up. But it wasn't until she said 5 words that I realized what was coming. We need to formalize the HOA. She didn't just want an HOA. She wanted a kingdom. She started with friendly flyers, community beautification plans. Then came the optional dues. Then violations. She fined a neighbor for having a faded mailbox, another for putting out trash 10 minutes early, and she cited me for visual disharmony because my fishing chair didn't match the natural color palette. She wasn't protecting property values. She was enforcing control. HOAs, when abused, are the perfect scam. They operate in legal gray zones. They can fine, shame, lean, and bully, often with no oversight. And Patricia knew exactly how to weaponize that. She dug through old property records, started calling herself Authorized Liaison of Land Use Management. He made up committees, sent out newsletters, and coined phrases like shared lake access potential. One day she showed up at my fence holding a glossy map and said, "We've designated your lake for recreational development." "We?" I asked. "The association." "Wide association." "Oh, you'll get the packet in the mail." It was like HOA cosplay but with real consequences. And the scary thing? She looked legitimate. She had charts, folders, phrases like zoning adjustment zones and communal eco-enrichment strategy. But beneath all of it, lies. Because HOA power only works if people believe it's real. And Patricia? She believed it so hard she made everyone else believe it too. Even me, for a second. Until one morning, I got 50 missed calls and found out she'd posted my private lake for sale online. Like she owned it. And that's when it got dangerous. Because this wasn't just HOA tyranny. This was froth. The morning I found out Patricia was trying to sell my lake, I'd just poured my first cup of coffee. Same mug I always use. Emily's favorite, chipped at the rim. Duke was still stretching on the porch when my phone lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. A note number, then another. Then 47 missed calls. One text read, "Is the lake still available for $50 K or has it been sold?" I almost dropped the mug. I rushed to my laptop, logged into one of those real estate groups I used to moderate back in my appraisal days. And there it was. Full color drone photos. A glittering write-up. Private 2-acre lake, ideal for eco-resort development. Price to sell fast. Contact Patricia Gray, authorized representative. My lake. Emily's lake. The place where we dreamed we'd retire, where she laughed barefoot on the dock, where I still talked to her at sunset like she never left. And Patricia had reduced it to a bullet point in a brochure. I stared at the listing like it was a horror movie. I couldn't pause. There were even mock-ups, photoshopped cabins, canoes, paddleboard yoga, and a big red $50,000, 0 cents, serious inquiries only, slapped across the top like a foreclosure. My heart went cold. She hadn't just overstepped. Her bulldozed the line and salted the earth. Duke sensed the shift. He started whining at the door. And I snapped. I don't mean angry yelling at a class, snapped. They grabbed my leaks in my pajamas and marched down the road. Snapped. It was just before 7 a.m. Sun barely up, air still cool, but I was on fire. I stormed onto Patricia's front lawn, Duke trailing behind, and there she was, watering her roses like she hadn't just committed grand theft real estate. "Good morning, Marcus," she chirped, fake smile locked in place. "Lovely day, isn't it?" "Are you out of your mind?" I barked. "You're selling my lake online." Her smile didn't flinch, but her eyes, cold steel. "Oh, Marcus," she said, as if she were explaining taxes to a toddler. "You've been underutilizing that lake for years. I'm helping the community recognize its potential." She actually used air quotes, helping the community. "You have no right," I said. She smirked. "Do you have the proper documentation or have you just been squatting on public land?" That's when I saw her hand move behind her back. Her phone, and then she dropped the act. Face twisted into mock terror. "No, please don't hit me," she shrieked. "He said he'd bury me under the lake. Somebody help." She threw herself backward into her own flower bed. Like a freaking soap opera stunt double. Phone still connected to 911. 5 minutes later, 2 cruisers pulled into her driveway. Lights flashing. Officers, out. Guns not drawn, but definitely ready. Sir, step back. Hands visible. My hands were already in the air. Duke barked once, then sat. Good boy. I tried to explain. Tried to show the screenshots, the listings, the tax records. But Patricia spun a whole novel. He said I'd been harassing her for months, that I threatened her life over a lake I didn't even own. And for a moment, they believed her. Until Mrs. Henderson peeked her head out from next door. Y'all might want to check the security footage, she said. My cameras caught the whole thing. He didn't touch her. She dove like she was in the Olympics. The officers reviewed it. Sure enough, me standing there, shocked and still. Patricia hurling herself into the mulch like a method actor at a community theater audition. Their tone changed real fast. Ma'am, the officer said flatly, filing a false report is a serious offense. Patricia's tears dried up instantly. That video doesn't show everything, she snapped. But the damage was done. They let me go, with a warning not to return to her property, which was fine, because I had no plans to go back. I was too busy going forward, because when I got home, something clicked. Something I'd filed away deep in my mind during my years as an appraiser. Something about county lines, tax maps, and forgotten easements. You see, Patricia thought she'd back me into a corner, but what she didn't know was that she had just kicked the hornet's nest of a grieving real estate nerd with 15 years of experience and nothing left to lose. The day after the police left, I figured maybe, just maybe she'd back off. She'd embarrassed herself, right? Got caught faking an assault on security footage. Maybe she'd cut her losses. Nope. The next morning, 6:01 a.m., I heard the unmistakable screech of tires, followed by the flash of red and blue outside my window. 2 more patrol cars. I stepped outside in my pajamas, coffee in one hand, Duke growling softly by my leg, and there she was. Patricia Gray, lavender blazer, bandage on her arm, eyes wide with righteous terror. I'm so glad you're here, officers, she said, voice trembling. He assaulted me. Again. He shoved me into a fence. This time, I have a witness. Behind her stood a guy I barely recognized. Jeremy Peterson. Near to the neighborhood? The place looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there. Yeah? Jeremy mumbled, not quite meeting anyone's eyes. I saw him push her. It was really aggressive. Rodriguez, the same officer from the day before, looked at me hard. Mr. Marcus, we're going to need to see yesterday's footage. This time, I didn't even flinch. Inside, I said, bring your notebook. Duke led the way. I pulled up the security footage on my laptop, multiple angles, audio, high definition. There it was. Time-stamped, crystal clear. Patricia approaching the new fence. A lamp. No Jeremy. Kicking the gate, yelling. Then, leaning into the fence just enough to scrape her arm on a bolt. A small streak of blood, a big dramatic fall. Cue the bandage and the 911 call. Rodriguez turned toward Jeremy, face unreadable. Mr. Peterson, would you like to revise your statement? Jeremy froze, and then crumbled. She paid me, he stammered. $5,000. Said all I had to do was nod if anyone asked. $5,000, Officer Kim repeated, deadpan. To lie to police? Jeremy nodded, visibly shaking. I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. My daughter's sick. I needed the money. Rodriguez turned to Patricia. Ms. Gray, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, bribing a witness, and obstruction of justice. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? No. Because Patricia, she didn't just crave power. She fed off control. Even in handcuffs, she spun the story. This is a mistake, she hissed. I'm the one being harassed. You have no idea who I know. You'll regret this. Rodriguez sighed like a man who'd heard one too many HOA-themed soap operas. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent, and for once, I suggest you use it. As they drove her away, Duke curled up at my feet. I sat on the porch and watched the sun rise. But instead of relief, I felt the first sting of what was coming next. Because that afternoon, Patricia posted bail, and within hours a smear campaign exploded online. She went full villain origin story. Facebook, Nextdoor, local forums, even LinkedIn for some reason. Default. Fake screenshots, photoshopped messages, fabricated quotes. She painted me as a violent hermit, a paranoid widower with a vendetta against women. She even implied that Emily's death wasn't an accident. That one nearly broke me. The comments rolled in fast. Men like this shouldn't be allowed to live near women. Someone call PETA, he probably mistreats that poor dog too. I heard he poisoned the lake to keep people away. The sheriff's department got flooded with tips. News outlets started calling. One even showed up at my front gate. And through it all, Patricia smiled from her porch like a queen watching her army march into battle. But here's the thing about battles. You still need truth. And the truth was on my side. So I did what any old-school real estate nerd with a tech-savvy streak and a deeply personal vendetta would do. I built a case. Evidence folders, screenshots, security footage, public court records from Florida, Texas, California. Patricia Coleman, her real name, left a trail like spilled gas waiting for a match. And that match was about to light. Because next, we were taking this fight public. After Patricia's smear campaign exploded online and after the sheriff's department had confirmed that I wasn't, in fact, a lake-poisoning sociopath, I went quiet. Deliberately. Because I wasn't just angry anymore. I was focused. You see, I spent 15 years working in real estate valuation. I know things most people skip past. Parcel IDs, historical plat overlays. And that night, while the internet called me everything from lake troll to toxic widower, I pulled out Emily's favorite mug, poured a fresh cup of coffee, and sat down with a stack of county maps from the 1950s. That's when I found it. Tucked between Patricia's property line and my lake access. A no man's land, surveyed in 1960, never reassigned. No heirs, no taxes, just forgotten. Plot X. It was narrow, about the width of a driveway, but strategically placed like a landmine. Without crossing Plot X, Patricia couldn't legally access my lake from her property. She could wave all the brochures she wanted, but she was selling lakefront dreams built on a road to nowhere. I called the county clerk first thing the next morning. Hey Rita, I said, how do I buy land that technically doesn't belong to anyone? She laughed, then paused. You're serious, aren't you? Dead serious. Turns out, abandoned land parcels must go to public auction. Legal protocol, of course. But in small towns, word spreads faster than wildfire, and Patricia, she'd caught wind of it by lunchtime. At the grocery store, she cornered me between the peanut butter and canned beans. Oh, Marcus, she purred. I hear you're trying to become a real land baron. Plot X, huh? You planning to build a garden shed? He smiled. Sir, just cleaning up the lines. Boundaries matter, right? Her smile wobbled. She knew I was bluffing, but she didn't know why. That's when I made the next move. I called an old client of mine, William Johnson, retired theater professor and part-time legend. William, I said, how do you feel about a little real estate performance art? We rehearsed, crafted backstories. William would pose as a high-rolling, out-of-town developer scouting for hidden investment parcels. His goal? Outbid Patricia just enough to make her nervous. Auction day arrived. Rainy, perfect ambiance. William wore a wrinkled blazer and fake reading glasses. He wore flannel and silence. Patricia showed up in a blazer that screamed LinkedIn hustle. And the room? Sparse, intimate. One auctioneer, 4 bidders, and 3 of them, me, William, and Patricia. Opening bid, $500, 0 cents. I raised my hand. Patricia jumped in, $600, 0 cents. William T, $1,500, 0 cents. Patricia blinked. She hadn't seen him coming. You stared, then upped it to $2,000, 0 cents. William pushed to $5,000, 0 cents with a dramatic flair that made the auctioneer chuckle. Patricia bit her lip. $7,500, 0 cents. William raised an eyebrow and whispered theatrically into his phone. Clients say I'm cleared for $10,000, 0 cents. Patricia snapped. $12,000, 0 cents. Silence. William bowed out. I smiled politely. And Patricia walked out of that courthouse owning a worthless 75 square meter puzzle piece. Without knowing I'd already bought plot Y, the connecting piece, privately, for $800, 0 cents. No bidding war. It's perfectly placed patience. Now she had a driveway to nowhere. And I had a legal choke point with a concrete fence already being planned. And the best part? The investors she promised lake access to? They were coming in just 48 hours. So I made a few calls, booked the fencing crew, ordered the permits, set the coffee pot for 4:00 a.m. Is when they showed up. They wouldn't find a picturesque lakeside resort. They'd find a fortress of no trespassing signs and a golden retriever who really doesn't like frauds. You ever watch a train wreck in slow motion? That was Patricia's investor tour. And I had front row seats, coffee in hand, Duke at my side, and security cameras rolling from every angle. At exactly 8:00 a.m., because Patricia, say what you want about her, ran on precision. Her parade of luxury SUVs started pulling into the gravel road like a real estate red carpet. Men in suits, women in heels, AirPods, briefcases, handshake confidence, the whole I own a yacht and a Tesla package. They weren't just investors. They were believers. Believers in Patricia Lake Eco Resort. Believers in brochure dreams and drone footage. Believers in the power of vision and an Instagram-worthy lakeside cabin. And that's what made it so tragic. They had no idea what was waiting for them around the bend. There she was, standing tall in navy moo powerwear, clipboard in one hand, megawatt smile locked and loaded. Welcome everyone, Patricia beamed. You're about to witness the future of rural luxury living. Please follow me. The group followed her like disciples, heading for a revelation. And then they saw it. My fence, 8 feet tall, steel mesh, motion-detecting cameras, warning signs in bold font, and one beautifully laminated sign that read, "Private property, no trespassing. Access prohibited without owner consent." You could feel the moment the mood shifted. Suit stopped mid-step. A woman in red Louboutins looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. One guy muttered, "What the hell is this?" Patricia froze, blinked, then did what any seasoned fraudster would do. She improvised. "Oh, this temporary setback," she chirped. "There's a small boundary misunderstanding with the adjacent property. We'll have it resolved in no time." I chose that moment to step out from behind the fence. The Duke trotted beside me like a bodyguard. "Morning, folks," I said. "Looking for the lake?" All 25 heads turned. Patricia turned a shade of white usually reserved for refrigerator interiors. "Excuse me," she hissed. "This is a private showing." "Of a lake you don't legally have access to?" I said, holding up my laminated deed like it was the final Uno card. "She's selling access across my land, which she doesn't own. That fence, it's on plot Y, mine. She owns plot X, which connects to exactly nothing." A man in a gray suit stepped forward. "Miss Gray, is this true?" She tried to answer, but it came out like a dial-up modem in distress. "I have rights, easement. It's being disputed." I checked, I said. "No recorded easement, no legal claim, no access. You've been sold a fantasy." Then the chaos began. Phones came out. One guy yelled, "I wired you $25,000, 0 cents yesterday." A woman started scrolling through her banking app. "You said I was getting lakefront equity." Another shouted, "I'm calling my lawyer right now. This is fraud, lady." And Patricia? She stood there, trying to hold it together as the empire she'd built on drone photos and fake promises crumbled like soggy drywall. I was misled, she blurted, pointing at me. He tricked me. This is all part of his plan to sabotage my vision. Nope, I said calmly. This is what happens when you try to build an empire on someone else's dream. And then, the cherry on top, Linda Murphy strolled up, holding a fresh apple pie and a camcorder. Oh, Marcus, I just finished baking. Thought the investors might want a slice of real local hospitality. Say hi to my 14,000 followers on TikTok Live. Patricia let out a sound like a teapot giving up. The SUVs began peeling away, dust clouds rising as angry investors sped off one by one. The last to leave was the man in the gray suit. He looked at me, shook his head, and said, "Hell of a play, Mr. Marcus. Remind me never to try crossing you." Then he turned to Patricia and said, "My firm will be in touch. Expect a lawsuit." And just like that, she was alone. No applause, no sale, no future resort. Just one fake resort queen standing in a bath of her own PR disaster next to a fence built by a widower who just wanted peace. Duke barked once, and in that single bark I swear he was saying, "Game over." But I knew better. This wasn't the end. Desperate people don't go quietly. They regroup, retaliate, escalate. And Patricia? She was about to play her most dangerous card yet. You'd think after being humiliated in front of 25 furious investors and a live-streaming grandma with a pie, Patricia would disappear. She didn't. Instead, she came back swinging. The next morning, Duke wouldn't touch his breakfast. He sniffed his water bowl by the fence, then barked like he'd seen a ghost. There was an oily sheen floating on top, sweet-smelling, viscous. And instantly, my blood ran cold. Antifreeze. I'd seen it before, back in my appraisal days. Used by bitter neighbors, land feuders, and sometimes worse. It's sweet. Dogs love the taste. But a few licks can shut down their kidneys. I dumped the bowl, scooped up Duke, and broke every speed limit to the vet. Dr. Martinez met me at the door. "You did the right thing," she said. "Looks like he didn't ingest any. You got lucky." No. We got vigilant. Because Duke, he'd saved himself and maybe me too. But the line had officially been crossed. This wasn't fraud anymore. It was personal, it was criminal, and I was done playing defense. That night, I met with Robert Anderson, one of the best trial attorneys in the state. The man looked like Gregory Peck and billed like Elon Musk. I handed him the stack of evidence, photos, footage, poison report, screenshots, statements. He looked through it for 15 minutes in complete silence, then said, "You know, Marcus, this isn't just a civil case anymore. This woman's been running a one-woman crime syndicate under the HOA's nose. We're filing criminal charges first thing Monday." And we did. Fraud, defamation, false police report, animal cruelty, witness tampering, multiple felonies across multiple jurisdictions. 3 weeks later, we were in court. Patricia walked in with a discount suit and an overworked public defender who looked like he'd rather be golfing. Her eyes scanned the courtroom like she were still searching for an angle, still thinking she could spin her way out. The prosecution, razor sharp. The courtroom, packed. Neighbors, victims, reporters. Even the TikTok grandma front row with a fresh pie in her lap. And Duke? Duke was there too, groomed, leash, sitting proudly next to me like he knew he was about to testify in spirit. They played the security footage first, Patricia poisoning the water bowl, then yelling he threatened me to 911 while faking a fall. Then came the investor statements, each one describing how they were misled, pressured, and robbed. And finally came the real showstopper, Duke's vet bill. The prosecution held it up like a murder weapon. "This is what nearly killed Marcus's dog. This is the extent Patricia Coleman would go to silence opposition. This isn't about property anymore. This is about power, about cruelty." Patricia took the stand, of course, tried one final Hail Mary. "I was under stress," she sniffled. "The community hated me. Marcus was intimidating me. I was just trying to create opportunity." The prosecutor didn't flinch. "Ms. Coleman, were you also under stress in Florida in 2018 when you forged property deeds? Or in Texas in 2020 during your fake resort rental scam? Or in California in 2022 when you disappeared before trial?" Patricia went quiet. The courtroom wasn't gasps, whispers, a slow tidal wave of realization. By the time closing arguments wrapped, even the bailiff looked ready to throw away her clipboard. The jury took 47 minutes. Guilty on all counts. No one clapped, no one needed to. Because the sound of justice is silence breaking tension. The judge sentenced Patricia to 18 years in federal prison, no early release, for 5, plus restitution to every victim totaling $317,000, 0 cents. And when the guards cuffed her, Patricia turned back one last time. Her eyes met mine. Still bitter, but hollow now, like the empire she built had finally caved in around her. And beside me, Duke let out one soft huff, like he too had judged her guilty. As we left the courtroom, I finally felt it. Not revenge, not triumph, but release. We'd made it, but we weren't done yet. Because the HOA was gone, Patricia was in prison, and now the neighbors were asking, so, what do we do without a queen? After the trial, Lakeside didn't just breathe easier, it exhaled for the first time in 15 years. No more clipboard terror. No more violations for owning a garden gnome with too much personality. No more HOA meetings with one chair, one voice, and one lavender blazer. But here's the thing no one prepares you for after a tyrant falls. Now what? At first, the neighborhood felt weirdly lost. People stood on their porches like confused extras waiting for stage direction. Some still trimmed their hedges nervously, unsure if they'd get fined by a ghost. Then, something amazing happened. Linda, our night shift nurse who once got fined $500, 0 cents for planting marigolds, planted them again. Big, bold, rebellious marigolds. Right next to petunias. The same combo that triggered Patricia's clipboard rage years ago. And guess what? No one said a word. Then Thomas showed up one Saturday morning, dragging an old wheelbarrow filled with bags of soil. Time to stop fighting over land, he said. Time to grow something on it. By noon, we had a dozen neighbors digging up Patricia's former front lawn. The Lavender Palace, gone, sold at auction to cover restitution. The new owners, lovely couple, let us keep the garden plan, even offered lemonade. We named it the Lakeside Commons. Raised beds filled with tomatoes, squash, and snap peas. Compost corner. Rainwater collection barrels. Picnic tables made from reclaimed wood. And in the center, a plaque. In memory of Emily, and every dream worth defending. Every Saturday became garden day. Duke appointed himself tomato guardian, laying next to the ripest ones like a sleepy little dragon. The first harvest was glorious. We grilled zucchini boats, passed around tomato salsa, and laughed like survivors at the end of a long, ridiculous war. And the biggest change? We talked again. Neighbors who used to wave and disappear behind hedges now lingered on porches, traded recipes, helped patch fences. Kids played with sidewalk chalk instead of watching for citations. And me? I finally slept. Deep, uninterrupted, dream-filled sleep. The kind Emily always wished for me. The lake remained quiet, untouched. Still my sanctuary, still Emily's dream. Except now, it echoed with laughter, dog barks, and the soft rhythm of people reconnecting with one another. And in the middle of it all, tomatoes. A ridiculous, beautiful symbol that trust could grow again, even in soil scorched by lies. If you've stuck around this long, thank you. If you've ever had to stand up to someone in power or defend something no one else understood, I hope this story made you feel seen. Drop the comments if you've ever fought for something that mattered. Like the video if you believe small communities can do big things. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.